So good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, good evening. Because you may be joining from, I know that you are not maybe joining from different parts of the world. So my name is Michaela Vikramasinghe. I'm the Graduate Studies Recruitment and Training Officer. And I may have spoken with some of you on email or previous virtual office hours. If not, here I am. I just wanted to congratulate you for your offers for the master's program, and we are really excited to have you at the University of Winnipeg, starting from fall or winter. And most of you have already submitted your study permit application, or you are working on it right now to apply as soon as possible, which is highly recommended. We want you to do it because sometimes there'll be longer processing times. So you're in the right place today to know everything about the study permits, all the great information that you can submit a really strong application to IRCC. So to give you that important information, I have invited my colleague Ali Raza, who's the RCIC and the Immigration Student Advisor for University of Winnipeg. So now I will pass it on to, before I pass it on to Ali, I see some Q&As. So please add all your questions because it's a really good platform because some of your questions might apply to everyone. And if it is a very specific question, we will ask you to come meet with Ali later, meet with us later. But today, you can add all the question to Q&A. We will get to that in the last 15 minutes. But let's first hear all the information, and this will answer some of your questions probably also. So Ali, thanks for joining us. I will hand over the presentation to you.
Thank you, Michaela. I just want to make sure everyone is able to hear me, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's a good question.
So we'll start. Just a brief introduction. Again, my name is Ali Raza. I'm Immigration Student Advisor. I work with International Immigrant and Refugee Student Services. So we do have immigration help for students, so you don't have to look for help outside. So this is part of services provided from the university to help you navigate through your immigration application processes from start to end. And today we will be talking about your study permit process overall, and we hope to clear the process overall and tell you specific steps about the application. We will cover what is study permit, visa, electronic travel authorization, what are the key required documents to apply, what is the application process, and what happens next, and what is the timeline involved. And finally, we will touch base with what is the common refusal reason and how you should address them in case your application is refused. So starting with the study permit, students are often confused with study permit and study visa. What is, both, do I need a study permit or study visa? So basically anybody coming to Canada for studies in a program which is longer than 6 months in duration needs a study permit. And anything less than that, you may not need a study permit, like a short program less than 6 months. And the study permit has advantage. It lets you work in Canada as an international student. And third is you don't have to leave Canada like visa, which is usually for 6 months. If you want to extend it every time, you have to leave Canada and, extend outside. But study permit can be extended inside Canada. Now, visa or ETA, depending on your nationality, some nationals are visa exempt, so they might only need an electronic travel authorization. And 1 or 2 countries are even ETA exempt, which is America, US. So students coming from US don't even need visa or ETA. That visa and ETA only is for the purpose of entering Canada. It doesn't authorize you to engage in studies. So this, just helps you, understand the study permit, visa, and ETA, two different things. One is for one is for just entry purpose, and the study permit document is the document that authorizes you to study in Canada for the length of your program. So the requirements we'll be talking in this session are general, that apply to all students regardless which country they are coming from. So regardless which country you are coming, these are the requirements that applies to all students. But then again, country-wise, there may be some additional requirements that you may have to meet, and you will find out when you are doing the application. It's not something you will not be able to find in your application. But the things that we will be mostly talking during this session are applicable to all students. So when you're applying for a study permit outside Canada, all of you need a letter of acceptance. Ideally, it should be unconditional. There shouldn't be any conditions like you have to meet English language requirements or any prerequisite courses. So you should be accepted unconditionally with a letter of acceptance. And the second is if you are accepted by the university, university also provides you a provincial attestation letter, which is basically a letter from the province that we can accept students, because now there is a cap on the number of international students each university can host in Canada. So province allocate number of students each university can accept. So if you have got letter of acceptance and provincial acceptance letter, that means you can go ahead and apply for your study permit application. The third one is the identity document, which is passport. It needs to be valid for at least your program duration, because any immigration document like study permit or visa cannot be issued beyond passport expiry. Let's say if your passport is only valid for 1 year and your program is two year duration, you should try to renew your passport for 2 years. But sometimes I know there are countries who have limits that you cannot extend your passport unless it's expiring 6 months, from the date. So in that case, you may not have option but to apply with the passport that is expiring, but then you may only get a study permit initially for 1 year. Once you arrive in Canada, you can renew your passport and then your study permit for the next 1 year. So that shouldn't be a problem. But if you can, I would suggest that you should have the passport for the entire length of your studies. Then fourth requirement is the fund. That's also a key requirement that the immigration officer check rigorously to make sure that student will have enough funds for length of their, especially for the first year, and which involves both study, tuition fee and living expense. So we will talk about, some of the funds forms you can provide proof of funds, and what are the, how much or what is the minimum requirement and what kind of different documents you can use. The fifth one being the statement of purpose. Sometimes it's again required for students. Even if it's not required, we highly recommend the student should include a statement of purpose or letter of expression that why they want to come to Canada and study in a particular program. Again, I'll cover that in detail in the next slides. And the application form itself, application for study permit made outside Canada, that's IMM 1294. That's the immigration form you will be using to apply for the study permit. And last one, depending on your country you're coming from, you would be asked to do a medical exam or police clearance. That's something you would know when you are, once you have created your application with the IRCC, that I'll go in detail. So these are the key requirements that will apply to all students, regardless which country you are coming. And then depending where you are applying, Canada Visa Office abroad may have additional requirements for you to meet that you will be able to know from your application. Now, the application process itself is online. All students are, recommended to do paper online application and not paper. Paper application is only in situation where there is a limit for any disability, or sometimes there are other limitations. You are not able to apply online. The form is not working, or the remote, like you're not able to access to internet or something like that. Then you can consider option to apply in paper application as well. But otherwise, immigration recommend everyone to apply using the online account, which is IRCC secure account, or also called GCT. So once you have your IRCC account, all you need to do is sign into your application page and select option apply for study permit. You will be asked about 20 questions about your situation, like what you want to do in Canada, how long you want to study, your country of nationality. So answering those questions, it will create a document checklist and all the application forms that apply to you. So I often tell students that applying online, makes your process simpler because that initial questionnaire, 15 to 20 questions, lets systems create a checklist for you specific to your situation. It tells you which forms you exactly need and which supporting documents you have to provide. Because otherwise, if you are doing paper application, it's a full package, and you have to figure out that which, especially if you are applying with your family, spouse, and kids, you have to sort out like which forms you have to include, which documents you have to include for your family member and yourself. But online application process simplifies the process for you. It creates a specific checklist for you. But that's very common when students are applying. They are often asking us, "Do I need?" Even if it's they are not sure, right? They haven't started the application process, but they're asking, "Will I need IELTS results or English language test results, or will I need a police certificate?" But those things get answered once you have created the account and answered the initial questionnaire. You are able to see that which documents are being asked of you and which one don't apply in your situation. So once you have created that checklist, and there is an application form to download, you simply fill those application form. You download those form initially on your computer first, fill out those application forms, upload scanned copies of your documents. Again, you don't have to. Another advantage is you don't have to send anything original. All you need to do is upload scanned copies of your official documents and pay the application fee along with biometric fee, again, if it's applicable, and you are able to submit application. So this process does not take more than 1 to 2 hours if you have all the required documents. And you don't have to do application in one sitting. You can create account, then you can start uploading whatever documents you have ready. You can start uploading them in the online portal and fill up your application. So once you have completed all the applications and uploaded all documents, the online portal usually gives you 60 days. Sorry, Mikhail, I see you. Anybody has raised hand or?
Oh, yes, it's me.
Okay.
I didn't want to interrupt and jump in, but I am going to launch a poll just to get an idea of how many students started application for a study permit. So you can keep presenting, but in the meantime, everyone, I'm going to launch this very quick poll. You can just let us know what's your status with the study permit while listening to Ali.
Right. Thanks.
You can see the poll, Ali, right?
Yes, I can see that.
Okay.
So these are the very 6 short steps for creating your application and get to know all the required documents and forms applicable to you. And then if you are applying with a family member, spouse, and your kids, they are coming with you to Canada and they will stay here while you are studying, you are completing the program, you can add those family member in your application. Then that's again, the process is simple. When you are asked the questions in the start of application, one of the question will be, do you have a family member who is coming with you? And all you have to do is say yes. And then for the kids, it will ask you, do they need a study permit? So if your kids are school going age, 5 years or older, you can select the option yes for the study permit. And for spouse, if there are 2 options again, if your spouse wants to come here to Canada and stay with you for the 1 or 2 year program, they can apply for their visitor status. Or they also have the option to get a work permit, which is called spousal open work permit. And they can also apply for that. Again, you just have to say yes for them and choose the kind of application they want to apply for, visitor or spousal open work permit. The important thing that spousal open work permit requirements has changed. Until last year, our students in master program, which are 1 year in duration, were able to get the work permit for their spouse. But starting this year, January, spousal work permits are only for students who are in master program, which are at least 16 months or longer in duration. So not all master students will be able to get open work permit for their spouse, but only those who are in 16 months or longer program. So that's the only limitation. But otherwise, you can include your family members in your application. And one thing, again, students, confused with the definition of family members. One of the questionnaire question would be, do you have a family member already in Canada? And if your sibling, brother or sister is living in Canada, that's not considered family member in terms of immigration. It's only spouse and kids. So you would have to say no to that question if you're considering thinking that your brother or sister is already living here. Only your spouse or kids are here, then that considered as a family member. So this, in short, is a entire process for application from start to end in 7-8 steps and requiring your supporting documents and application forms.
Okay, so thanks everyone for completing the poll, submitting the poll, and it's really great news that most of you have either applied or started the application. So congratulations, and you're going to learn a lot of things for those who have started or have not yet started application. That will help you today. So thanks again. I will have one more poll, but I will do it at the end. So I'm going to stop sharing now. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, if most of you have started, which is good because applications usually take at least 2 to 4 months to get processed. So if you're starting in September, you should have already started the process at least by now, giving enough time for application process to complete, which requires many stages: application, medical, and biometric. So you should get your decisions by September. So now specifically talking about how much funds you would need to show for your study permit application. So it has to cover all three things: your tuition, at least for first year, your living expense, and your return travel if the program is short only 1 year. If it's 2 year, then just travel expense for coming to Canada. So the every year IRCC update this number. So for this year, you have to show that you have funds to cover your tuition for first year, whatever that tuition amount is on your letter of acceptance, from 16 to 25,000 a year. So you have to show that you have that balance in your account, your parents' account, or whoever is sponsoring you, or sometimes you have secured, applied for a loan, then your loan has been approved. So your banking or your financial institution is ready to provide you funds at the start of the studies. That can also be used as a proof. And for the living expense, they consider 20,000, around 600 Canadian dollars for a single student that they would need to spend on, rent, groceries, books, clothing, and miscellaneous expenses. So that's minimum they are expecting students to show in readily available form. So that these funds should not be like, you could say like, I have asset, I'm going to sell it. No, you should be able to show that amount in, accounts or secured loans, or sometimes it's best to deposit your tuition for the first year. Immigration has the expedited stream for 11 or 13 countries, which they closed now, student direct stream, in which they made it mandatory that student must deposit first year tuition so they can expedite the application in 2 weeks to 4 weeks. But then they have closed down the STS program. So all the students would be able to apply regular study permit application stream. Again, some applying from some countries, you may see this requirement that it asks you to deposit first year tuition. Then it would be must that you have to deposit tuition. But even if you are not asked to deposit first year tuition, we still highly recommend, because the program STS student direct stream was started so the immigration officer can process the application faster, because when they have that kind of proof of funds, the student tuition is already deposited with the institution, they are able to process your application faster than other than trying to verify other funds from your financial institution or other proof, which can take them some time to consider your application. I don't know, Mikhail, if you're taking question in the middle or we are keeping it in the end, because I see one student raise their hand. You're muted.
Thanks, Ali. I think we'll take it at the end.
Okay.
Because these are good questions and it looks like it will affect everyone. And then Nazrul, you have a few questions. So
Sure, we'll have time, around 30 minutes to take questions, so we can keep it at the
yeah,
end.
so just give us maybe 10 more minutes to wrap up the presentation. And then, yeah, we'll get to that.
Sure, yeah. So we'll take your question at the end. So with the funds, this is for single student. If you have family member coming, spouse and children, you can add 4,000 to 5,000 additionally for each family member to count towards the total funds available. And again, some of the acceptable proof of funds documents would be tuition statement if you have made a deposit with the university, bank statement. Bank statement has to be of last 4 months and not just a statement, closing balance statement, which just indicates how much funds you have at some point, like recently, whenever the bank statement was generated. The purpose of 4 months bank statement is for officer to see that these funds have been with you for some time and they are not just borrowed funds. They want to see the trail of the funds. So it's very important that you are able to show a 4 months bank statement and not just the balance statement, like how much funds you have. And if the statements are from your parents and other relative or friend who are sponsoring your tuition and living, then they should also provide you a letter just confirming how they know you, like their relative or their friends, family member, what they do and how they are ready to support your tuition and living expense through their funds available in their account. And one of the form of also showing fund is GIC. These are investment certificate in Canadian institutions. So some Canadian institution allow students to deposit funds which are locked towards your tuition fee. You're not able to take out those funds except for paying tuition. So those kind of funds are locked. So those count as one of the very strong proof towards your study permit application assessment, because one, that office are able to verify those funds easily because they're in Canadian financial institutions. Second, it gives them high the indication that these funds are specific for tuition. Students would not be able to withdraw unless in case their visa is refused or they are not able to start studies. So those also count as a strong proof of funds. And the last one is like if you have all secured a scholarship, you have been awarded loan approval letters, those also are the documents that you can include in your application for proof of funds. Letter of explanation as a cover letter to explain your situation, that why you are using the University of Winnipeg, how this program align with your previous studies or future goals and aspirations, and how you would be meeting your financial requirements, paying tuition and living expense, and any work or gap history, like if you are starting studies after some time, after 5 years gap, or if you worked before, how these studies are going to help your job that you are doing right now. So this is your chance to explain in 1 to 2 pages to make a strong statement that you really want to join this program and it's going to help you in your career goal. So this letter is really important in giving you officer the overall in your intention of studying in Canada and knowing that you're a bona fide student. So this letter is one of the key requirements in that it helps you increase your chances of visa success. Now, depending again which country you are coming from, if you have not visited Canada before, and if you have not done biometrics last 10 years, you would be made to undergo biometrics, which is establishing your identity through taking your photograph and taking your fingerprints. So they are maintained as a record with the IRCC for 10 years to confirm your identity. And then second is the medical exam. Again, not required of all students from all countries, but if you are national of a country, particular, specific, there's a designated countries list. If you have stayed there for 6 months, last 6 months, then you will be required to undergo a medical exam. And once medical exams are done during the application, they remain valid for 12 months. So your application should be completed within 12 months, so you don't have to do another medical exam. And medical exam is something there is an option you can do upfront, that before even you have started your application. It helps you expedite the application process, because once you submit the application and officer, assess your application initially to confirm that the documents are complete and this application can be processed further. At that point, they send you a letter that you need to undergo a medical exam. But you also have the option that you can go to one of the immigration medical exam center in your country and ask them you are applying for study permit or visa and you want to undergo a medical exam. They will do your medical exam and send the result to immigration. So when you actually make the application for the study permit, the IRCC would already have the results. So only you're taking the risk because sometimes what if your application does not pass the initial stage and your application is withdrawn, your expense for the medical exam would be wasted. So what if you want to do medical exam upfront, that can save you a little bit time. I would say 3 to 4 weeks of processing, because that happens later at the application when officer have received your application and assessed it for initial completeness check. So that's something you can decide you want to do medical exam upfront or once you are asked during the application process. And it has to be IRCC approved panel physicians. So when you receive the instruction from the IRCC, they will include the link which panel physician you can go to in your country to do the medical exam. Once you have submitted the application to IRCC online, you would likely, depending on the processing time, in 3 to 4 weeks, you would receive a biometric request. Only if you haven't done so before in last 10 years. And on average, applications are taking 4 to 5 months. But I was looking just before the session that some of the countries have, like Nigeria, have processing time only 6 weeks. So, but on average, most countries usually, visa office abroad, Canada visa office abroad takes 4 to 5 months to process. So it's best to start application in time to get the decision before start of your classes. And during application, if IRCC, sometime they may want to verify your documents, they may want to request additional documents from you. So just pay attention to emails that you have included in your application, because they will be sending you notification or additional requests through email. So it's very important you don't miss those emails or messages. So these are some of the things that increase your visa chances success or reduce the risk of refusals. We have listed some of the most common reasons, and most common ones are insufficient proof of funds or documents. This is most confusing. Like I have often seen that students claim that they have provided enough funds which cover both the first year living expense and tuition, but they still got refused. Sometime you have to see what kind of documents were included. If the bank statement was included, was it just the balance statement or last 4 month statement? As I said, you might have shown enough funds, but you may have failed to show that these funds have been with you for some time, like 4 to 6 months. So that could be one reason. So try to provide minimum 3 to 4 months bank statement. Otherwise, they may not consider those funds. They may not be able to see how long those funds have been with you. Weak statement of purpose, you are not able to clearly show them why you are starting this program, or how it aligns with your studies. If you return to your country, what you will do with your program. If you want to stay in Canada, what are the opportunities, why this program is helpful in your future goals and careers. Again, you have to make a clear statement or show them how it's going to help you in your career. Lack of strong ties to home countries is also one reason when the officers see that you may not be able to return to your home country after completing your education. Again, this point is confused that you have to tell officer. Then I often see in student statement that they are mentioned that I will return to my home country after completing my studies, or I promise. So more than making a statement, I tell students that this should be implied in your statement of purpose, that when you are explaining your career goals and your what job opportunity you already have in your countries and what you have already done, that should imply that you are capable of returning, that you have opportunity to both continue if you finish your studies, start a career back home, and if you want to, because Canada definitely provides students opportunity to move from study permit to work permit after graduating, and even permanent residency option are there. So dual intent is not the basis of refusal for study visas, that you will not go back to your country, but rather you are not able to show that you are capable of returning if you are not able to continue further with the work permit. So this thing should not come as a straightforward statement, but should be your cover letter or your statement of purpose should reflect from your overall goal that you are capable of returning based on your situation back home, your family, your social ties, and how established you are in your country. And then the one of the things that to include in your cover letter could be, especially with the graduate students, they have they studied sometime before, now they were working, and now they are returning to their studies, so they have to just cover those points, like why they want to return to studies, what happened during last 4 years, what they were lacking, or they felt the need that they should go back to studies and improve their skills, or um, those things. So this is also the chance to show officer that why you want to return study, if there was any gap in your studies before, or if there have been previous refusals or travel history. You can also mention though that you have been to different country for different purposes, other country other than Canada or Canada itself. Those are the things, or any other thing you think like can result in refusal, about your family situations, if you have remained unemployed for last 2 years, things like that, and those can be explained in your applications. Time to improve, the things to improve your chances of visa again stems from the reason of refusal. So you want to make sure your documents are complete and accurate. Um, you want to simplify sometimes some students are showing too many documents, like if where it just asks for proof of funds, they are I have seen long documents of property, 30-page of property documents that may not be easy for officer to understand. So you might want to get a certificate of your property. Sometimes those audit companies are able to give you a certificate that you have. They are able to give you a breakdown of your total assets on one certificate from a credible audit company or financial institution. You can get a certificate that you have this much in property, this much in cash, this much in this. Instead of providing all that 40-50 pages of different documents, you can simplify the process. That's very important, because officer, if they have to go through all these documents, it's not easy for them to understand, especially when they're dealing with different kind of documents, and how those financial documents differ, like property documents, title documents for each country. So you want to simplify the process for them. And even when you're providing a lot of financial documents, you may want to create an index page at the first and simplify for the process for them, that page 1 to 10 is about my assets, page 10 to 15 or 20 is my bank statement, and then 20 to 25 my parent statement. This helps officer just go to the key information they want to see to make an assessment about your application. So these things are important, because when used to be paper application, the minor things like when you staple your different documents would result in refusal, because officer don't want to just unpin your documents and then go through them. They would have specific instruction for paper application that don't staple your documents, just combine them with using a common pin. So don't use those staplers. So those things, little things also matter. Same with the financial proof, that there should be a clear breakdown of finances, like where the money is coming from, and explain any gaps in your studies or work history. And again, demonstrate your intent to return home, not in a statement like you promise you will return, but that should be implied from your statement and your financial document, your studies, and your history. But despite all these things, you may try your best and you still see a refusal. And sometimes it gets hard to understand why you got refused when you have provided all documents. The first thing should be, you can request officer notes, because once you get the refusal letter, those are very generic. These are based on immigration law, that, based on this regulation, we have refused the student. You may not be able to understand what exactly the reason is. The letter might say that you have insufficient funds. And you might be wondering, scratching your head, that I did provide a proof of 40,000. Why? How come the officer is saying that the funds are not sufficient? Again, when you request notes from immigration officer file, that I will explain like how you can request those notes. You are able to get comments about your application from the officer, that there were bank statement were lacking the period, like it just indicate that you have 40,000, but there are no statements to show for last 3-4 months that these funds have been with the applicant for some time. So those kind of things you will only be able to see through the case notes that you can request. Not student, and if you are outside Canada, you can't request it directly, but there are many services in Canada. If you look up that case notes, you will be able to come across different service providers who charge usually $30 to $50 and are able to request notes on your behalf. They will ask you to fill out a consent form, and you will be able to request the case notes through them. It takes usually 30 days, but I strongly recommend, in case you get refused and you're looking to apply second time, request the case note so you are able to go into details of your refusal reasons before applying second time, because many times students are in hurry, they don't want to miss their start of their studies, and just apply second time, just including more documents. Again, it's like throwing the arrows in the air when you don't exactly know the reason. You are still providing the same statement of, you might increase the statement. Like last time you provided 40,000, now you're providing 60,000 bank statement. But again, the statement is the balance, like the funds are there in the account, but it doesn't tell that they have been in 6 months. Then the second time application get refused, you will be even more surprised, like why that my application is still refused on the financial ground, even though I provided more funds. But the amount was never a question. They were looking for 4 months bank statement. So that's why they would still refuse second time, even if you don't address the specific reason. That's why it's important. You get the case specific notes from your file before applying second time. And then students have also a resort, like despite providing the best documents and information, they get refused. They can hire a lawyer in Canada to make a judicial review. The process is expensive, lawyer fees are involved, and it takes time, but you are able to challenge officer decision in the court if you see that it has been unfair. And we can, if hopefully nobody should fall in that situation, but if you do, then we are able to help you guide with some of the processes involved in visa refusals. So I think that's all about the immigration process generally for all students. But if your situations is specific and require, coming with children, I think you can send us emails and we can look your situation and help you with your case specific questions about your application. And I think we have time to take questions as well, right, Nikita?
Yes, yeah. So I will get into the questions. Are we at the end of are we done with
Yes.
the presentation? This is the last slide, right? Okay, I didn't have it open from my end. So there's a question. I will get into the question that is I think it's from the person who has the hands up too. So they have already applied or they are about to apply in the online portal. And then there's a question about submitting into various kind of slots, I guess, right, in the supporting documents. So they don't see the option for SOP. And then
Yes.
also,
They want to upload a statement of purpose, right?
yeah. So where would be the place for that, Ali?
Yeah, so if it's so again, some visa office where you are applying would ask for statement of purpose in the supporting document, but if it's not there and you want to include, which we recommend you do provide, you can include it just under the supporting document. There is a section optional documents, and under optional documents there is section client information. So client information section is providing any documents you think is important for your application, and it can be one document or more than one. So use that section to upload your cover letter or statement of purpose letter.
Yeah, so then for thanks, Ali. So there's a few sections of this question. So I'll go one by one. And the other is for proof of funds. If I cannot upload multiple documents under each category, there's file size limit up to 4 MB. I want to submit bank statement, affidavit of support letter from sponsor and sponsor's tax records for last 2 years. Do I need to submit proof of source of income of sponsor, proof of asset, etc.? How do I submit all information since there are limit for number of file and file size? Do I need to submit resume since I'm working for the last 2 years?
Resume wouldn't be required if you can just cover that information in the cover letter, because yes, that's where you can summarize all the information that you have previously been employed and you have work experience, and how that work experience going to help you in studies, or how these studies are going to help you further that career.
The SOP.
Yes, SOP.
Yeah.
About the financial documents, yes, the file size is limited for MB. Every category you can only upload one file. So if you have more than one financial document, bank statement, tuition statement, loans, and other things, you will have to scan them together, make it a one file. Even then, sometimes it's 40 pages. File size gets bigger than 4 MB. You can try compressing the file size using online services without compromising the quality of document. They should still be readable. But still, if you find that it's not enough, again, you can use the client information section to upload extra documents. That will also give you limit of uploading one document. So you can upload cover letter as a first page and then scan other documents you think were should also be included for your finances. You can upload, scan them together to make it one file and upload it under client in client section.
Yeah, I can just let you know that I had the same problem. Recently, I applied for a temporary visa for one of my family members. And with the sponsor, I believe you do not need your tax records. What you need is the bank statement of 4 months. And I don't think, Ali, like, correct me if I'm wrong, do they need the income of sponsor and proof of assets?
Proof of income from a sponsor can help, like, so I mean, that's good to that they ask, like, so when you're applying study permit, they definitely want to see the proof of fund for first year. But if your program is longer, like 2-year master, they also want to see that you have source of income or assets that will cover for second year. So that's where, yes, sponsor or even parents, source of income or other assets will play the role, that they will be able to see that they have readily available fund for the first year, but they also have a source of income which indicates that they will be able to have enough saving later or assets to cover other expense for the second and third year. So it's good to include their source of income in a job letter, that they earn that much and their job is from last 2 years, so they can see they have a strong history of having job and funds availability.
Right. So whatever you can make a good, strong case, right? So
Yes.
yeah, like Ali mentioned, you can merge with PDF. It can be really long pages, but you can minimize the size under the funds. Yeah, I believe my document was about 15 pages, but I was able to put it all together um, and then reduce the file size on there. But yeah, maybe PDF is one option. Maybe there are other options that I don't know of, but you can search online. And the guideline page on study permit also have some information on how to reduce the files, I believe. Yeah, so I think we answered that question. If you have any kind of other questions based on the answer, please add it here. I'm going to the next question. It is from a student who mentioned that they are divorced and if they have to include the previous partner information on their study form.
Once you mentioned that you're married or divorced, then it may not ask you. But again, you will be able to see that if it asks you the main application form that I mentioned in the start only asks you about your status. It doesn't ask you about the spouse information more than that. It only asks you if you were married and the name of the spouse. And yeah, that's the only thing it asks you. So you would not be required to provide the complete information in the application if you're separated or divorced.
Okay, that's great. I don't see any other questions. So I am not sure if Nazrul has more questions. Do I need to pay tuition upfront before applying? You do not have to pay tuition if for the university, like if we do not, like do you have to pay by the deadlines? Maybe I will ask Ali if this is gonna help or is there any recommendations?
Paying tuition upfront for the visa success chances is highly recommendable because, again, as I said, like immigration had specific student direct stream for 10, 12 countries where if student wants to expedite their process, like, otherwise it takes 4 months. But if they said, like, if student wants to expedite their process, then they should provide us these proof. And one of them was that they should provide us the proof that they have deposited the first year tuition with the university. So now you can see that your processing going to be easier and faster if you provide this one. Though it's not mandatory, but providing this makes very easy for officer to reach to conclusion without further looking into your financial documents in detail. Because the half of the proof is very strong. The tuition is locked. So those funds were there and they have been not used for any other purpose. They are locked with the university, and most university only return those funds when the visa is refused. So that makes a very strong proof of funds. So definitely recommended to expedite the process as well as increase your visa chances success. The first year tuition deposit.
That's great information. Thanks, Ali. So it's not required on the site, but if you have means to pay right now, that will help with your study permit, and it's a recommendation. And Ali has seen a lot of study permit applications, so I would take that recommendation if I can, if I have the money right now to pay. So the other question is, if I had a legal name change and all my documents are under my new name, do I need to provide my previous name or documentation of the name change?
That question is also on the form, like if you have used previous name on other documents, so you should say yes to that question on the application form. And other than that, you can just include in the cover letter, the statement of purpose, that additional information that I have my previous name different on my other documents. But since then, from your high school or from your at any point during your education or work, that changed. So you just need to mention it briefly so there is no confusion for them when they are looking at different documents, that why your high school have different documents have different name and your other documents. You just need to make it disclose this information so they are aware and they don't get confused with your documents.
Okay, great. Question, what happens to tuition reimbursement if visa get denied? And I can answer this. We provide all the tuition back. The only non-refundable is your application fee, but if a visa gets refused, you will get all your tuition back.
I just wanted to confirm, it's the provincial attestation letter deposit. Does graduate studies have deposit for the provincial attestation
We
letter?
did have it, and
And
then
that's refundable too as well?
it is refundable for visa refusals, yes. However, yeah, we have for right now we have changed that requirement. We no longer require the deposit because it's at the end of our application cycle, and we want the students to get their study permit sooner. So the students, most of them now should have their LOAs without the deposit. But we still recommend you to pay the deposit or the first year tuition, as Ali mentioned, to include with your study permit. It's not a requirement to get your LOA. However, at this point, if the visa officer is looking at your application and they know that you have paid tuition, that's a good, that strengthens your application. So we don't say no, don't do it. If you are going to pay, we will issue the receipts. That will help you with the application. Okay, so another question, do I need to show the resources for money deposits in my bank account during the period of 4 months, which I supposed to get 4 months bank statement?
Depends. So, Trail, you could explain where those funds came from. Like if you have a deposit of $500,000 in your bank statement for back 2 months ago, they might be interesting where this funds came from. So in that case, but if you're, if you had simply a saving, let's say 2 million in your account for last 6 months, then that simply indicates that you had that saving for some quite some time. But if there was a movement of funds quite often, there have been, like if you are that's a business account you have, or those assets you keep moving, transfers keeps happening, then again yes, you need to provide a clarification that you have a turnover, your monthly turnover is this, so that's where you are getting those funds mainly from, and those gets also transferred to some other expense. But overall it suggests like your balance stays high for the if you have to start studies. Despite that large debits and credits, your overall statement indicates to them that you still have funds at the end of the month every time.
Okay. Oh, I don't know why I did that. Q&A. We don't have any other questions right now. I think we still have 8 minutes, so we will still be here. And I can see that Ali is sending his email to everyone. If you have any specific questions, you can send them to Ali, and Ali has drop-in times, and you can also book a meeting appointment one-on-one with you, right, Ali?
Yeah, so my drop-ins hours are Tuesday and Friday. So these students are, still outside, so it's gonna help them join the Zoom session, which is just starting actually in 8 minutes. So I might as well include the link for them here.
Okay,
So if they
great.
want, they can join the Zoom meeting and ask quick question about their applications. So I've included my Zoom meeting link for drop-ins Friday, 10:30 to 12:30. That starts in 8 minutes. So, next week or any Friday you have questions about immigration applications, you can, ask.
Yeah, that's great. We have a pre-arrival webinar. I can give you the date. I don't have the link yet, but I believe that is in June. So once we have the Zoom link, that will be sent to all of you. Please come to that. And then, some of you may already have your study permits. We will provide information on getting ready to travel, what to expect at the border here, what to do in the first couple of weeks, and the other supports available from the university. So I have a question, Ali. There's a couple of questions that I remembered from the students that I may have already sent to you. One of the questions was if they get study permit visa, let's say like mid-June, and they want to come a little bit early to get familiarized with the city, find accommodation, can they book a flight and come in that case?
Yes. So before it used to be that immigration would advise students should only come within a month of classes start, not too early, or they would question them, do you have arrangements for stay? Why you have come so early? But last 3 and 4 year, when student number jumped very high, and there was lots of students coming over the last 2 weeks before start of term in the September. Immigration have hard time, issuing study permits to everybody arriving, in a very short time. So now they have started spreading this time. They said you can arrive early. So within 2 months of your start, you should be fine, because then it gives you time to settle down, get to know things around, get used to weather and other things, and find, if you want to change accommodation. So that's fine. All you have to just show that, if they ask you that you have arrangements in place, have you booked a living place, a hostel, a Airbnb, or any arrangements, and you have initial funds to cover that stay. So just those information should be ready. If they just not every student get asked randomly, they can check with any students that what are the arrangements for you. If you are coming early, your classes are not starting in 2 months. What you are going to do is maybe they just ask you. You are not just surprised. You can say, I just want to find another accommodation. This is just temporary. I found, but actual one I want to find when I did how part of the universe. So things like that, you should be ready to explain that what's the purpose to come too early, and especially you have arrangements in place for the stay.
So a question, if they have to wait until the study permit approved to be allowed to look for an apartment or sign a lease. I know this is kind of not a very IRCC question. So from my experience, Ali and I both were international students as well, who have come here long time ago. I think you should be really asking questions from the person you're renting the room or your lease company, whether you pay, because when you sign the lease, they'll most likely ask you to pay a deposit. Usually it's half a month rent. Or some people might even be asking for a little bit more. I don't have that information. It's different from one leasing company to another. I would say just ask them, like, if your study permit is refused, can you get your deposit back? Because that will be around, like, up to $1,000 that you have to pay. So what's going to happen? So ask all that questions, get it in writing that they do it. You can also check with University of Winnipeg housing. They have summer residence, summer rental options, and that might be like a more because it's a legitimate place, and you can also but still ask the question, what's going to happen if I don't get it by this time? Can I move that money to the next month or something like that? So I would ask all the right questions, get them on a Zoom call, or write to the company email, like not a Gmail or Outlook, because then you have some kind of a proof if you need to be requiring that funds. I hope that helps. I don't know if you have anything to add, Ali.
No, I think, yeah, there shouldn't be any final plans, but you should have done your preliminary search or made initial arrangements. You have find the place and have already finalized, sorted things between you and the landlord, like how much the rent is, deposit, like Michaela said, like deposit, you should keep in mind that you might lose if you don't show up, because they also have limitation. If you don't show up, they would have that place left vacant for a couple of months. So they might also want not to take a chance. So for that, I would suggest maybe just book an Airbnb for 1 month, so you are not losing anything. And it's usually best because you actually get a better idea that sometimes students find it's very close to university, but the close to university option may not be best for you. You want to find a better place, maybe which is a little bit distance, but maybe more cheaper, or in terms of transportation. So it's all, usually students move when they come, they find different other places to they want to move to. So would be best, like just to find an Airbnb or temporary place to come 1 month or 2 months, and then find how it suits you in terms of transportation, food, groceries. Are there closed stores by? And especially for winter when it's very cold, and even a 1 minute distance can seem like 10 minutes, can make a big difference. So then your plan might change where you want to live. So maybe just make a short term plan, 1 to 2 months, if you're concerned about the visa refusal thing.
Yeah, that's actually really good insights, which make me think that you can use the Google Earth to look at the neighborhoods. Because if you are, like a lot of times international students come from a very, sheltered, very nice areas back home. You have all your family, and you're moving to a new city and you don't know many people. So just find some place that would give you a little bit comfort, that you like the place. I don't like, I mean, you can look at some blogs, and there's Economic Development Winnipeg, Tourism Winnipeg. They will have like the top neighborhoods in Winnipeg. The other thing is check the bus route online. There's Winnipeg Transit Maps. So when you look for apartment, you can check where's the bus stop. I know some students would get apartment that bus stop is right across from them, which is really great. And yes, like there's winters in Winnipeg, and some of the winters can be harsher than the others. Summers are really, really nice, but yes, Ali. But we will cover a lot of this information in the upcoming pre-arrival webinar too, just to give you more of that. But you can leave, Ali. I will wrap it
All
up.
right.
Thank you so much
Thank
again
you. Thank you.
for bringing all the good information. There is, do I need to notarize all my educational certificates? That question. So the secondary and the school certificates, usually if they require for you to upload, it's better to have it notarized. Again, that's something you can send to Ali. I don't think secondary certificates are needed in most places. If you're coming for master's programs, the university doesn't ask for high school, secondary certificates. We ask for the university, like undergraduate credentials, certificate, and the diploma notarized, but not the others. And mostly, we use a system called My Creds, where your university can send your official document. So I don't think you need that. However, if you have questions, you think it might need in the future, you can always get it notarized before you come. So it's 10:31, and This was really great that within 1 hour we finished our presentation and we answered your questions. If you have any other questions in the meantime, I will also put my email. Please send an email, and I hope all the best with your study permit applications. Please ask us any questions. Don't submit it with any doubts, but really encourage you to submit within the month of May or before, early in the month of May. So all the best, and we look forward to see you in the fall, and also at the pre-arrival webinar that's happening in June. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great weekend.